Here at Lady Farmer, we talk about so many different aspects of slow and sustainable living, a subject matter that can at times feel confusing, overwhelming, even misleading. And that's why a few years ago, we set out to write a book that might be a guide for those seeking a life of beauty, simplicity, and sustainability.
We're thrilled to be able to offer you our own small guide for cultivating slow living, sustainable simplicity close to home, available in our online marketplace. In the book, we've woven an easy-to-digest narrative of stories, recipes, tips, resources, ideas, and reflection. This collection of essays and resources will guide you to think about your own relationship to the planet, what you eat, what you wear, and how you live a sustainable lifestyle. It also contains a 21-day slow living challenge of daily thought exercises to lead you in the process.
For you Good Dirt listeners, we are offering free shipping of this wonderful little book with the code TheGoodDirt in our online marketplace. So use the code TheGoodDirt, TheGoodDirt at checkout when you go to purchase your copy of The Lady Farmer Guide to Slow Living in our online marketplace for free shipping. That's The Good Dirt at the Lady Farmer online marketplace for free shipping on The Lady Farmer Guide to Slow Living. We hope you enjoy it.
Thanks, everybody. Hello, everyone. Welcome to May, the month that celebrates moms and flowers, wraps up the school year, launches graduates of all ages and stages, and inaugurates summer with its exit. Step into any CVS or supermarket, and you'll see what we're investing our resources in this season. The three main channels of commerce this month being, of course, Mother's Day, graduations, and Memorial Day. There are lots of reasons to buy gifts and cards for mom and grads and party supplies for the celebrations. Time to stock up on all the things we'll need for spending more time outdoors, too. Hats, flip-flops, sunscreen and bug repellent, beach umbrellas, swimsuits, charcoal, picnic supplies, etc. This is the May of our contemporary culture. But without all of this, what is May? Named after the Roman goddess Maya, who's associated with spring and growing things. It's known as a month of flowers and the frivolity of May Day, or May 1st, which is actually the second cross-quarter day of the year. Remember the cross quarters, the midway point between the solstice and the equinoxes? May Day, or Beltane, as it was known in pre-Christian times, is halfway between the spring equinox and the summer solstice in June. Traditionally, Beltane was a celebration of fertility and the emergence of life, as spring came into fullness and moved towards summer. The word Beltane means bright fire, as the bonfire would be a central feature of the festivities, which would typically begin on the evening before the 1st of May. Many spring rites have evolved around the Beltane traditions, which celebrate the idea of fertility, conception, and new life. In some cultures, the custom was for couples to go spend the night in the woods together, married or not, and return the next morning bearing flowers and hawthorn branches, which bloom in early May. The hawthorn tree symbolizes love, affection, and attraction. In more recent cultural practices, Beltane is celebrated as May Day, a time to gather spring blooms and dance in the spring sunshine. The traditional maypole dance, during which young girls would circle a pole with ribbons and flowers, reflects these ancient rituals. So there's the traditional May and the May of our contemporary culture. But I'd like to ask, where is your May? In slow living through the seasons, we want to slow down enough to notice how things affect us. Whether these are seasonal events or weather shifts or anything that is associated with a certain time of year, these can have a big impact, and it might be hard to know how to deal with some of these things when it's not in line with the cultural messaging. For instance, for something as fundamental and powerful as motherhood, To assign one day of the year to celebrate its enormous significance is going to bring up some big feelings. It's so much more than cards and brunch and flowers for so many. For as much well-deserved love and appreciation that comes with the day, there's the flip side of loss and grief that is naturally a part of it for those whose mothers have passed, or those who've struggled in their relationships, and the many instances of infertility, pregnancy loss, or the loss of a young or an adult child. The end of school and graduations, too, can bring up the conflicting feelings of transitions, time passing, stress about the future, the realization that the kids are growing up too fast. The truth is that May, a month that is busy with celebrations and expectations, can be complicated, stressful, and sad for some. If you recognize yourself here, the important thing is to acknowledge how you're feeling and to do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself in the midst of it all. And no, you're not the only one. We're all human, after all. Don't let Hallmark tell you how you're supposed to feel. So, what are some ways we can embrace slow living through this season in a meaningful way without being overtaken by all the busyness of the month's cultural celebrations? Spending the night carousing in the woods is definitely still an option, but many of us might prefer something a little more tame. Personally, I like to simply set aside the time for gathering a few blooms and branches for an arrangement, or hosting an informal get-together to celebrate the warming weather. Including a bonfire as part of the celebration is a direct connection to those who came long before us, yet shared the same hope and joy in the coming of the season of abundance as we do today. So, what is your May? Is there some memory or experience that you can claim that brings you wonder and amazement? One of the lesser-known aspects of May that I've become familiar with since living in a rural area is bee swarm season. When we first moved into this old farmhouse, we were aware that there was a beehive thriving in a walnut tree just outside the back door. We were able to watch it through the seasons and observe their comings and goings. We would note when there was a lot of activity and can tell when something had them agitated. One time, the hive was invaded by wasps, and I knew there was something going on because a few of them had come into the kitchen and were flying around frantically, like they were asking for help. I realized that by living in such close proximity to the hive, I'd grown somewhat attached to having them there. One early May afternoon, I stepped out back to hear a very discernible humming noise and looked up to see a large, dark cloud cluster of bees moving in unison across the yard. It was thousands of them, but moving through the sky in such perfect unity, it was as if it were a single object. The sound was really loud. I watched in amazement as it moved with such purpose and deliberation away from the tree and the house and off in another direction. I was reminded of the Winnie the Pooh movie, where Pooh is hanging from the bee cluster as if it's a balloon, and it looked so much like that. That was the first time I'd seen a swarm, and when I later realized the bees had moved on from that tree, I felt unexpectedly sad, and I missed them. Now we have hives set up out back, and a local beekeeper comes to take care of them periodically and sees to the honey harvest. Since that time, I've seen a few swarms, and it's always right at this time of year. There was one just about a week ago, and it was lucky that our beekeeper, Joe, happened to be there checking on the hives, and he was able to actually catch it and direct it into a new hive box instead of going out into the wild. Capturing a swarm of bees is actually a fascinating process. The first thing Joe did was take a shovel and a hammer and walk around underneath the swarm, making a rhythmic, clanging noise. This is actually a very old technique known as tinning, and it works to calm the bees down so that hopefully they'll settle nearby somewhere in sight so that you can collect them. So, why is it important to catch the swarm if you can? Why not just let them go, wild? Something that's not widely understood about honeybees, the ones that live in hives and swarm and make honey, is that they're not native to North America. They were imported from Europe and some parts of Asia and Africa several hundred years ago and are now widely used in agriculture for pollination of crops. Our native bees, of which there are many, many varieties, typically don't live in hive communities. So you will hear of controversy regarding whether or not the imported honeybees are a threat to our native bee population. There are a lot of strong opinions on that, but the fact of the matter is that our food system is highly dependent on bees. The USDA states that about 1 out of every 3 bites of food you eat is dependent on pollinators. Bees play a crucial role in our food supply. But because they're not native, they need to be managed and can actually do a lot of damage outside of a controlled environment. For instance, a rogue bee swarm might decide to take a residence inside the wall of your house, or populate an area where they're destabilizing a local ecosystem and competing with the native bees for food. So, by all means, be kind to bees, all of the bees, which means understanding their role and helping to preserve a healthy habitat and environment for all of them to cohabitate. So on to gardening in May. It's a special time for those of us who love playing in the dirt. Things are shooting up everywhere. We can see what's coming. We can move things around. It's not hot yet, and the bugs are still laying low. This is the reason to spend whole days outside. In saying that, I realize it's a luxury, but at the same time, for me, those days are often the result of lots of intention and conscious decision-making. I can look ahead to the good weather days and, hopefully, clear my calendar of any commitments that would break up the day. Just ask Emma when we're mapping out our Lady Farmer schedule for the week. If it's a nice day, and especially if the moon is in a fruitful sign, I won't be doing screens. I'm out actually being a lady farmer. And you can bet that irony is not lost on me. But if those long days playing outside aren't possible or even preferable for you, it's okay. What's important is to make space to be outside at all, for you and the kids. It's easy to let the activities and errands take over the days and weekends without even realizing it. I'll go back to a phrase that might help. When possible, choose outdoors over stores. It's a simple thing, just to pause and make that discernment in the moment. So let's say you've got all the kids in the car and headed to Target for party supplies. This moment is golden, my friends. This is the genesis of shift. This is where you take a different turn, literally and figuratively, from the direction of Target to the nearest park or nature walk. Be out loud about it. Tell the kids, we're going to do something different this time. We're not going to go buy a bunch of stuff right now. And those party supplies, when you get back, see what you've already got in your house. See what you can use instead of disposable plastic stuff. Invite the kids to help you figure out how to have a party with less waste. Make your own greeting cards, get out the crayons and scissors and create wrapping paper, or come up with gifts of time and experience instead of objects. Notice I'm not saying zero waste. Take one step at a time. Figure out one thing. Allow yourself to be creative and have fun and be a little different. Notice the loud voice of convenience when it pops into your head, telling you you're wasting your time by skipping the Target trip. and gently tell that voice that, on the contrary, you have found time. Okay, back to the garden. For planting by the signs in May, we've got the new moon on the 7th. So from there until the full moon on the 23rd, we're in the waxing phase. So if you're in a location where your soil has warmed up and you're past the threat of a frost, it's go time for the above ground summer crops: beans, squash, cucumbers, peppers, all the goodies. The best planting days during this time are the 7th and 8th in Taurus, the 11th and 12th in Cancer, the 18th through the 20th in Libra, and the 21st and 22nd in Scorpio. Also, where I come from, the old-time gardeners would say to plant your beans in the arms, which is Gemini. And this month, that would be the 9th and 10th. The same rule applies to any vining plant, such as cucumbers and melons. Since Gemini is normally a barren sign, this is one of those fun, possibly local, deviations from the rule that I find fascinating. The why of it is pure speculation, but maybe it's because the arms are trailing out from the body like a vine. And another note is that Libra is an ideal sign for planting flowers. The sign of Libra tends to encourage beauty. So if you're going for looks over fruit, choose Libra. After the full moon on the 23rd is a great time to plant your late beets, potatoes, onions, and carrots, especially on the 25th through the 27th in Capricorn and the 30th and 31st in Pisces. Again, check your local guides for specifics about your location. I want to give you a quick update on my personal low-waste garden challenge. So far, I've avoided buying any new plants except for a couple of very specific things that are hard to find and that I can't start from seed. I've been doing lots of transplanting of things that I already have in my garden that can be divided and moved. And I attended a community plant swap where I acquired some real treasures without spending a cent. Remember, it's not too late to start things from seed. And because of our partnership with Pine Tree Seeds, a small women-owned and operated company in Maine, we're still offering you that fantastic 20% off discount code. Just go to superseeds.com and check out their wonderful selection of seeds and plants and use code GoodDirt2024 for 20% off your order. We're also offering a code for Neptune's Harvest, also a small family-owned company in New England that has partnered with us on the Good Dirt podcast and that utilizes the byproduct from a seafood company to reduce waste in the ocean and create these amazing organic fertilizers. Go to neptunesharvest.com and use the code GOODDIRT for 5% off. You will love all of these products. So that takes us right to my seasonal recipe share for the month, which is strawberry kefir, since strawberries are a highlight of May in the garden. Kefir is essentially cultured milk, a rich, creamy, probiotic beverage with the consistency of drinkable yogurt, but with many times more nutrients. If you want to do something proactive for your gut health and your immune system, you'll want to know about this. You'll also hear it pronounced kefir, but I've always referred to it as kefir. It's a staple in our household diet year-round, with many seasonal flavor variations. But this one is my favorite. And when the strawberries arrive in May, there is nothing like that cold, creamy goodness that says summer is just around the corner. The recipe is linked in the show notes. And as always, you can have access to our easy reference monthly downloadable printable Planting by the Signs calendar by becoming a paid subscriber to our Substack. So that's it for this month. Don't forget to order your seeds at superseeds.com and your organic fertilizers at Neptune's Harvest. You'll find those links in the show notes as well. And also, Remember to take care of yourself during this beautiful but busy time. I'll leave you with this thought: to do what you can to find your May, the one that brings you the joy of flowers, warmer days, a growing garden, and the promise of the summer to come. See you in June.